My name is Sita Sagaran, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all for today's session, which is Dangers of Toxic Parenting. So, what is toxic parenting? It is an umbrella term for parents who display self centered behaviors that, in turn, conveys to their child that their parent or parents are emotionally unavailable. They are also perhaps uncaring when it comes to the needs of their child. So, what is considered toxic parenting? Number one, when they create a negative, toxic home environment. Now, what do we mean by creating a negative, toxic environment? It is an environment that is not the opposite of negativity, which is positive. There are less reasons for the family or the child to feel happy, for the child to feel secure, comfort, and protected. Number two, toxic parenting is when parents use guilt, fear, humiliation to ensure obedience from their children. Number three, they are sometimes neglectful emotionally. They are abusive, not necessarily always physically, but emotionally or even verbally. And they put their own needs before the needs of their child. So I think that is something which we need to remember at all times. They are constantly putting their needs before their child. What are some of the issues you have personally had due to toxic parenting during your childhood and teenage years, Swapna? We will then move ahead with how we could cope up, but we would love to hear from you.
All right. So to answer your question, you asked about the challenges that I faced with toxic parenting. Fortunately or unfortunately, yes, I did go through toxic parenting in my life. And if I were to sum it up, I would sum it up in one word, and lots of that one word, which is anxiety, and lots of anxiety. There was a lot of fear while growing up in terms of, the peace and atmosphere at home. There was a lot of concern on mother's health and well-being. There was a lot of apprehension on the family financial matters. There was a lot of worry thinking about, what would happen when the abusive parent is under the alcohol influence, and what might happen next. And it was always like treading on eggshells, honestly speaking, in terms of what you might do next that might upset the abusive parent. And you have to be always on your toes to see how to kind of tread carefully and ensure the peace is not disturbed at home. So anxiety would be something that sums up. Anxiety in many, many different forms would be what sums up the challenges that we faced while growing up.
So I'm not sure how many of you have actually experienced where violence was something that parents had resorted to as a form of discipline. And I think that the greatest tool that we have actually in making sure that the children are able to be happier, they are better disciplined, is definitely through trust, appreciation, and probably leading a life of example, whereby a child can probably learn better from us through observation. Toxic parents, they always expect admiration. They also, unfortunately, get jealous of other relationships that their child may have. Because when it comes to certain relationships, we often hear about relationships when a child gets married and the spouse actually has felt rather uncomfortable because of the possessiveness of the parents towards their spouse. They need to be constantly in control. Now, control is a very, very strong word here because the way how parents would like to control at various stages can be very, very different. But how are we able to make sure the child is understanding what we are trying to say and give them the freedom to grow? How have you been able to help them and bring out their natural creativity and uniqueness of personality?
Well, I think that would be, very importantly, to give them space to be who they are. Because we have different notions of how the society works or how children should behave or what children should achieve, but not everybody is not made with the same mold. Everybody is so different, and each one has different ways of responding, reacting, behaving in society. It's not just about toxic parenting, it's about so many challenges that might come along our life, as life progresses along. And it's so important, the self-belief. So if you don't believe in your children and give them that confidence, they'll never have that growing up and later when they're alone to face life's challenges. So giving them the space to be themselves and then grow within their own, I wouldn't say just comfort zone, grow within their own, what would I say, dimensions of what they look at what life should be.
And I think coming back to what are the ways that toxic, or the way we are able to spot the features of toxic parenting is also through the fact that they do not respect boundaries. Now, respecting boundaries means in case you're entering the room of your child, you knock and you wait patiently for the child to say, please come in. And because you're the parent and you think you have a right to enter, that is where we may be wrong. We have to wait. And the best way to help children learn boundaries is by respecting their boundaries, so that the child realizes that we need to respect boundaries, we need to respect privacy as well. And also, one of the worst characteristics of toxic parents are they take their emotions out on their children. So in a nutshell, they are self-centered, they have little empathy, they are disrespectful, they are emotionally reactive, they are controlling, they are angry most of the time, they are critical, manipulating, and they love to blame. They are also demanding, they are embarrassing, they are cruel, and they unfortunately also sometimes share a lot of information which does not help the child. So it could even be something about the other spouse, which they might have some differences of opinion. But once again, that is not something which helps the child. What are the tips that you can suggest needs to be given to those who are either experiencing toxic parenting or who have experienced toxic parenting?
When we grew up and we became independent, that's when a lot of things started changing. Because when we become independent and, and not just I'm talking about financially, but even physically, emotionally, mentally, in every way possible, when we become independent, that's when you learn, you get to take care of yourself and you can take care of your loved ones as well. And second is in terms of acceptance, because, there are things that happen in life, you can't change it. And acceptance is not just in terms of what you can and cannot change in life. Acceptance is also about people who may not get you. You may be going through a lot of trauma in your life, and not everybody will get support system, because obviously it's not necessarily that the whole family is abusive. It's probably one member is abusive or two members abusive. There's the rest of the family. So to build up your support system with family, friends, whoever you trust is very important. To keep that nourished is very important.
What was your number one support system?
What happens, support system becomes internal as well as external. Many times you have to look inward and rely on your own support system. And when you talk about the internal support system, for me, it would be, one is belief in self, and second is trust in God. And the external system, of course, is in terms of the family support.
Now, setting boundaries is very, very important, because sometimes some parents might also want to know, what are you doing? How are you doing? When are you doing? Lot of questions, which once again questions the child to a large extent. And it also makes them feel that they have no freedom to be who they are. So when it comes to such situations, it's always better to be very brief as you grow older. I'm talking about a teenager to a young adult. So the less you are able to be interactive with that parent, the better it would be and easier it would be to communicate. So I think what we need to basically make a child feel is that if we are looking at acceptance, we need to make sure the child feels accepted We need to have a way of giving them their space because we need to respect that they are growing up. At the same time, we need to also make sure that we are there for them so that when they have doubts, they can count on us. So, what are some of the signs that we may see in a toxic family member? First one is no regard for opinion. Second is psychological abuse. Toxic family members, they create anxiety. What are the tips that you would consider to be given to an adult who has been through toxic parenting, not a child?
I think it all depends on the degree to which, in how they are experiencing the effects of toxic parenting. For example, when your child is going through a certain difficult situation, you don't know how to handle it because your child is different from you. What your face is not what your child is facing, and what problems you had is not what the child is having. So you come to experience new things in your life which you're not aware of. You don't know how to deal with it. So it has helped me personally. It has helped me where I would, if it's a specific problem, I would just type it up into Google, and believe me, there are so many millions of people out there searching the exact same thing. So many millions of parents searching the exact same thing. You have to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, who will? The world won't believe in yours. You just have to believe in yourself. There's no two ways about it. So as a parent, yes, you need to inculcate that in the children. As an adult, we have to ensure that we hold on to it. Kind of, I wanted to sum up in terms of 7 points to sum up what we spoke about. Is 7 points are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay. And what is A? A is, of course, acceptance. We have talked about it. Acceptance in terms of understanding what you can change and can't change in life. Acceptance in terms of, understanding that not all people will not respond the way you want. You have to be accepting towards it, right? B is, of course, the belief part of it, the self-belief. So very important. I can repeat it 100 times, but I can still not, talk enough about self-belief. C is the conscience. Like I said, listening to your inner voice, because if you go about trying to please everybody and listening to what others think or others feel, there's not going to be any end to it. So as long as you are true to your inner voice, that's all that matters. D is duty, to keep doing your duty no matter what, because come rain or shine, come motivation or not, whether you feel like it or not, duties have to be done. Your loved ones are depending on you, duties have to be met. And that's how you show up in the world and move on with life. So duty, very important. E is the energy part of it, as I was mentioning, because you need to keep involving yourself in nice, positive energy activities. Start creating it for yourself, to elevate you a better status. Like, for example, have some nice dreams, nice goals. That helps you to, to keep you looking forward to achieve more. And, this helps to elevate you in your life. And F being family. A family can be either blood relatives or otherwise a strong group of people who is there for you always, whom you can, really, talk to them, talk your heart out without any judgment, and they're there for you. A strong support system, nourish it, keep them close to you always. And G, of course, last but not the least, but the most important, is trust in God. I cannot emphasize enough again on that belief in that higher self, which will take you through troubles no matter what might come your way. And along with trusting in God, it's a gratefulness for what you have, right? All of us have a lot of things that's going right for us and a lot of things that's not going right for us. So let's just forget or leave out the things that's not going well, and let's focus on what's going well. And I'm sure, when you focus on that, it will grow more in your life. So that gratefulness is very important. So that's the A, B, C, D, E, F, G for you.
Thank you. I knew you had prepared that, and I didn't want that to go to waste because it was very important. You, after having put in so much of effort, I had felt that no, you needed to mention that. Thank you. Thank you so much, Swapna, for sharing those very, very valuable points on how we can not only face a situation or the challenges of toxic parenting, but how can we overcome the situation that we have experienced through very, very positive, powerful thinking.